So good morning and welcome to the Evident Proof demo. My name is Ian Taylor. So we run these demos twice weekly at around 10 a.m. on a Tuesday and 4 p.m. on a Thursday London time. And the purpose of the demo is to give people an overview of what Evident Proof is, how it works. And what I'll then do is run through a sample workflow from one of our clients, and we'll look at how they use the Evident Proof system to store their data immutably, and then how the system would help them present this data in a court of law should they need to verify this data. So what is Evident Proof? Evident Proof is an enterprise platform for storing immutable proof of evidence. So why would this be important to a business? So the platform and the technology works in a certain way, and this way is that we take your data, or we take a hash of your data structure, and we convert it into something called a proof seal, which can be stored in an immutable way on a technology called the blockchain. Now, the blockchain has some unique properties as it stores data in a decentralized, distributed way across thousands of computers, meaning that the data stored is being stored in a way that is basically unhackable. So storing data in an immutable way means it can't be changed, it can't be tampered with, and it can't be hacked. So because of the way that Evident Proof service stores your data, you could take that data later down the line to present it in the court of law. And this could be in a patent scenario or audit scenario or even a compliance scenario. So we would give you proof of evidence. So we got a number of clients using the system today. One of them is the largest supplier of government licensing solutions to the UK government. Now, effectively, their line of business solution deals with the checks and balances around the governance of the issuing of a taxi license. So why would they need to store that data in an immutable way? So the user case is really clear. Early this year, there were a number of articles in the press which stated that last year alone in the UK, 150,000 taxi licenses were issued. And some of the drivers that were issued these licenses had criminal convictions, drink driving bans, and any number of misdemeanors. You name it, really, they had it. So at this point, there's a burden of proof on the company and, more importantly, the local government to prove that they carried out these checks and balances and that the results were somehow not falsified by somebody who had maybe gained access to the data. So using the Evident Proof service, they're now able to prove that these checks and balances have been made and that the data hasn't been tampered with. So it's quite a large line of business application that the taxi licensing software are using, but we can't show you all of this. But what I can do is show you a trimmed down version in a standalone demo, which just effectively shows how they would go about creating a taxi license, and then how they would push that data to the Evident Proof system, and we would convert that into a proof seal, storing it immutably in a distributed fashion on the blockchain network. So what we can do is now run through the taxi license scenario. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to create a new license. So what we're actually looking at here would be the business's in-house line of application, so that their own solutions that they're currently using internally. And what we're doing here is we're just really emulating that to show how it would work for when we take on a client. We would look at their existing in-house business applications. We would look at their process, the data that they're collecting. We would come and work with them. We would then identify which parts of these data would then need to be stored immutably through the Evident Proof system, just in case later down the line that data may be challenged in a court of law, so they could present this information to show that this data was as it was at this particular moment in time. So we're only using this taxi license as an example. This could be somebody's inline SaaS platform. It could be Salesforce. It could be anything. So let me just go through and show you how this would work. So we set up Tom's license. So we're going to say that the license is active. There's a criminal record check performed. Yes, it has been. But of course, there could be hundreds of pieces of documentation tied to this again, all of this could be pushed through to the Evident Proof platform. And the driving license, well, it's just a standard. And then again, we've got identity check performed. And once again, this is really probably something that would have, again, multiple pieces of information behind it and multiple checks, all that could be pushed through to the Evident Proof platform. And we could create proof seals from that if that data needed to be stored immutably. So I'm now going to create this license. And now what's happening now is that data is being pushed through to the Evident Proof platform. And you can see at the bottom, Tom Pepper has been created. If we now go into the Evident Proof platform, go into the proof seals, we can see that the latest one that was created is here. And as you can see from here, this was the license holder Tom. So this has been created. So let's describe a little bit about the data that you're looking at here. So initially at the top, we've got the dispatch ID. So this is an API call into the service, and it's a dispatch of the evidence records into the Evident Proof service. And then we've got the dispatch evidence itself. So if we run through the structure of the evidence is in a fixed schema, and this is the way that we'd have worked with you for you to present your data to us. And this is a fixed schema that ensures that we can correlate between the Evident Proof and the stuff stored on the blockchain and the data stored on the blockchain. So we then got the when and the where. Obviously, these are paramount as well. So where could be an IP address, and when is the timestamp, and this will be recorded on the blockchain. So it's recorded in an immutable way so that it can always be referenced. And then we've got the PSU reference, X reference. So the PSU is a cross reference that allows you to check that this is a key that relates back to the same data in your line, your data in your line of business application. Now, this data really could be a single key or a compound key or an ID or an asset. This is whatever you need to correlate back to your source data in your systems. So we have the key and the value, which obviously any software developers will be familiar with as a way of storing evidence. And in this scenario, as you can see, we're only storing a single key. In fact, a dispatch could store many pieces of evidence, and these could be forms, documents. It could be it could be War and Peace if you needed it to be. So as you can see, we've also got the JSON value here, and this JSON representative is a representative of the forms data, and this could be a single field again, or multiple fields, or a form of, it could be the English dictionary. So finally, we've got the receipt success, and this is the sorry, we've got the seal here. We missed the seal out, didn't we? So the proof seal, this is a hash of all of this data effectively. And what this proof seal is used for is for a checksum verification of the data. Now, none of your data is revealed within this seal, but it does prove your data. Finally, we've got the dispatch receipt. So when we have the receipt is returned to you by the API call. And effectively, the receipt is your method of saying that this data has been immutably stored on the Evident Proof blockchain. And here's how I could navigate back to that through this unique ID. So the proof certificate itself is literally the document that pulls together all of the information that we've discussed. And you could present this in a court of law, and it would confirm that data was stored on the blockchain through the Evident Proof platform in a certain way. So let's say a year down the line, we've had somebody challenge the integrity of this particular data. We therefore need to go back and prove that data. So we can now generate a proof certificate. Now, normally this would be done automatically through an API call, but obviously I'm clicking the button here and we've created the certificate. Now, when we create a proof certificate, what happens is we put out a request, and this goes off to the blockchain, and it checks the data and the seal, then finally checks that it matches our source data. So if we can, I've just clicked on create the proof seal, and here we have the proof certificate here. And so all of this data obviously looks familiar. There's a couple of pieces here that have been added, which is the evidence verified, which is true. And finally, the transaction ID. And this is the key that confirms that we have proved this taxi license example here. So what you can see now is really just a very basic standard interface. Every one of our clients we work with, everything is customizable so that they can push the data that represents their governance process through to the Evident Proof platform, and we can store that immutably for them and produce proof certificates at some point in the future should they need to confirm that that data was stored in a certain way. So all of the proof certificates can be customized, they can be presented in PDFs. Realistically, the platform can be deployed to fit whatever processes you have. Some of our other clients, we have manufacturing clients that are now using the platform to prove the provenance of their supply chain, and we also have a number of construction companies that are proving that they've gone through their health and safety checks for their compliance, and at any point they can produce evidence in the court of law to say that they carried out these checks at a certain point at a certain time. So in essence, that's the Evident Proof platform. If you've got any questions, please put them over on Telegram, and we shall see you again Thursday at 4 o'clock on our next demo. Thank you.